I am the architect of my life. I build its foundation with the qualities of stability and resilience.
I was wondering if I could introduce you to our beauty line. It would only take 2 minutes of your time.
Think success early in the morning.
What do you think? You want to think about it.
Yeah.
I can sense it. That's okay.
As a door-to-door makeup saleswoman, I will not settle for less than I deserve. I will continue to say to myself, my place is at the top.
This isn't just some crazy fantasy of yours.
This is the real thing.
I'm officially going to my meetings more.
I'll see you in there?
Yep. Trying to bring Alice back into my life.
When was the last time I saw you? A year ago?
I'm laying the groundwork to prepare myself for success, happiness.
That is some nonsense.
I don't often do this sort of thing.
You don't enjoy kissing?
What are you drinking?
This is your overall income from last year?
I'm just getting started.
I have a funny feeling about you.
Can you add a bit more whiskey?
Becoming wealthy has nothing to do with your hard work, but has everything to do with being at the right place at the right time.
Thanks so much for being here and making this super crazy, weird, fun movie. It's nothing like anything I've ever seen.
Well, I mean, I'm glad you had that response. I couldn't ask for anything more.
Adam, I'm curious. What was like a big influence for you going into this movie? Like, what is a movie or a filmmaker that was on your mind?
Well, it was kind of a combination of things. I love Robert Altman's Three Women. Oh, yeah. That was a big influence. Also, I love, just a lot of movies from the 70s. This movie called Fat City, John Huston's movie.
That is possibly my favorite movie. I have a VHS copy of it signed by Jeff Bridges. It's one of the few things I've asked somebody to sign.
No, it's an incredible movie, and I wanted to kind of make a barfly movie in certain ways, and that's it's a boxing and a barfly movie. Yeah. But and this other great film made by Barbara Loden called Wanda, which is Elia Kazan's wife. She died. Her only
movie, right?
Yeah, her only movie, and it won this big Venice Film Festival prize at the time in the 70s, and it's an amazing movie. Try to find it anywhere you can.
It's so hard to find. I remember trying to see it before we shot the movie, and I had such a hard time finding it, but if you can, it's really worth it.
It's unbelievable. It screens around the city every now and then. People go crazy for it. But it's interesting that you say Fat City, because I could see this character as like Susan Terrell just before she's sort of hit that, 20 years before Susan Terrell in Fat City. She's like just getting there.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely this is like... you'll see what happens, and Susan Tyrell is probably, a later version of Sherry Graham, the character.
I have to ask, it takes guts to take on a role like this in a movie like this, because I think most people want to look good as actors, and they want to present themselves in a positive way. This character does very little to present herself positively outside of the fact that she's very charming, as you are charming. So what made you interested in this?
Well, I can't tell you how good that feels as an actress, to be able to just not care, let it all out, have fun. There are so many roles out there for women to be beautiful and pretty. And the couple of times in my life where I had, a role where I could just be ugly and have fun and just have weird things to play, and it's so much fun. I look for those roles, and thank God people like Adam write them sometimes, very rarely, and then find the money to have them made, which is so surprising at times, because it doesn't always correspond to what people think we want, producers or networks think we want to see. But I know that my friends and I who go to the movies love a weird and bold and risky movie once in a while, and it's anyway, such a pleasure to be part of it.
And I think one of the things, we talk about this character in somewhat pejorative ways because, she doesn't ascribe to a lot of the same sort of aspirations that I think most people would, not just career, but also emotionally with other people. But you guys portray her, and I think especially in your performance, with a lot of heart and love that, like, no matter what she's doing that may be kind of off or wrong, it feels like you really love this character and love playing this part.
Well,
true?
she's human, so she is made of love and all sorts of complicated things. I think she's trying very hard to fit in, and she's trying to fit into a society that she thinks, well, I've always said, I think she's made for the circus, but she's trying to structure her life in a very specific way. Yeah, exactly, but she doesn't know it yet.
Right.
And hopefully, you'll see the movie at the end. Maybe she's off to a different type of life. I hope so. She does learn a lot. There's a big learning curve in this movie. So, yeah, I think she is a carny somehow.
What do you think she learns in the movie?
Well, she takes the reins of her life.
I think she accepts who she is. Like, I think, I don't think there's just a massive amount of. I know, David Fincher once said he doesn't love. He loves characters that don't necessarily see a lot of change.
Yeah.
And I think with Sherry, you don't see a lot of change. She doesn't transform as a good person and everything's great. No. But
that's what I like about the film in a
Yeah.
lot of ways. I detest movies where it's obvious what the change is going to be from the first scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
She doesn't become a better person. She doesn't take care of other people more than she used to, but she goes in a weird place, and she probably feels that that's her place now, to take weird decisions.
yeah, I think she becomes more comfortable in her skin. Even
Yep.
I think it's like a slight nod at the end, but I think she really is just kind of I am who I am, and I'm going to conquer the world with whatever
In all my weirdness.
frailty.
Yeah.
I love the scenes where she is selling the makeup, trying to sell the products. And I'm wondering, were those other actors and actresses in those scenes? Because there's a quality to those scenes that feel very naturalistic.
Yeah.
I'll let you describe that
Yeah,
part.
I mean, originally, I love the film Salesman by the Maisels. And that was also big inspiration in terms of the seeds of this movie. And I wanted to do live moments where we just go knock on doors, random houses, and create these random moments. But we realized no one's really going to let us into their house and stage these moments. So we ended up casting non-actors and some from backstage, just some kind of from some theater actors and some family friends. And we just kind of just put them down. We didn't give them a script. We kind of gave Caroline a few questions to ask, and they just went off. There's some plot points in the film that she came up with on the spot, improvised, that totally give the character so much grounding. And there were amazing moments. We talked to about 7 women. And about 30 minutes, and obviously there are only 30 seconds to a minute in the movie, but they created this lively, intimate moments that totally give this film some life that I wouldn't have, with normal actors, I feel like.
And it was a great way for me to get to know my character before we started shooting the actual scenes, because it was maybe 3 or 4 days of, and the women knew we were coming to their houses, but Adam and the crew set up the cameras. I would knock on the door, and as soon as they opened the door, bam, we were shooting. So it was really cool, and just to make up stuff and get to know her before the pressure of shooting the actual scenes. It was really cool.
Once you got into actually shooting the scenes, did you try to sort of limit interaction between you while you guys sort of set up the camera? Because even the shots, while they're, the acting is improvisational potentially, your shots are very well composed and beautiful in those scenes. You have those slow zoom outs, those sort of Altman-esque 3 women zoom outs going on in there.
In the narrative portions you're referring to, or? Yeah, well, those were very much scripted, a little bit of rehearsal, not much at all. We didn't have any time to rehearse. So we just kind of block it out with the actors. And, I really wanted to kind of just, I wanted a little distance just to kind of, I think that's partially I didn't want any judgment on the actor, because the character is so complicated, and I think it could go the other way, so easily, that I really wanted to, almost we're watching her and kind of observing her kind of doing these kind of somewhat insane, but somewhat also kind of intimate and sad things as well. And, I think that was a choice that we made early on,
I'm curious for you as an actress, to, I think, become and grow as a better actor, you have to maintain a certain amount of freedom and a kind of, for lack of a better word, a kind of lack of shame sometimes so that you can feel free to act. And I'm wondering if doing projects like this, after doing stuff like Hannibal or other television shows where it can be somewhat constricted in terms of how the show is produced and how your performance how you have to hit your mark at the very least in a lot of those performances, if doing something like this sort of reminds you what you love about acting or helps you continue to grow.
Absolutely. Some projects make you feel like you're 5 years old again and you're putting clothes on and just creating a part. And that was one of them. We had a very small crew, very strong one, but it wasn't like a heavy thing to lift the crew and get to the other location. And so that gives you freedom, as you said. And also you don't feel pressured after, like Adam took his time to edit the movie the way he wanted it because he didn't have a big studio pushing him to make it come out this certain date. And so that was a big luxury as well. So we had very little money. So of course you have to kind of make your dream come true with this much money, but you have the luxury of time and space and that freedom.
Talk about the look of the film, Adam. It's very colorful and bright and beautiful, especially I think, the choice of the car that she's driving, and I think
Rhonda, we named the car.
Rhonda was the name of it. And I think of one shot in particular at the end of the film that I'm not sure if it was the Metro North, if that's where you were shooting, but the train going by in the sky. The green is so lush and beautiful, and the sky is so blue. Incredible color work there, and I'm wondering what made you want to go for something so bright and make the film so bright and pop like that.
Yeah, I think we needed to, we obviously shot, working with the production designer and the costume designer very intimately and really wanted to have this like array of colors in the film. And at first it was going to be more muted, but then I realized during like the editing process, I think we needed to give it a little more pop because we needed to make the world, obviously there are very naturalistic, intimate moments in the film, but we needed to make it a little bit kind of one step removed and just kind of give it a brightness and an energy through the color. Kind of some people have described the colors kind of like similar to Todd Haynes or, even a little bit like Todd Salon's, And I think that definitely like influences and...
Muted, you were actually going for the Wanda feeling by going muted, right?
Yeah, originally it was going to be muted, but I realized that we needed a pop because we needed to make sure that people knew that this wasn't like, the reality that we're living in. And also we wanted to kind of make the film a little more timeless and that some of the palettes,
It also suits Caroline's performance as well. Like it complements a very bubbly performance of a sort of bubbly performance of a kind of desperate soul, though, which I love that. When did you sort of find that element of her personality? Because other actresses or actors would have sort of read that on the page and been like, oh, this is a very sad person, like, very desperate, whereas you kind of play her as kind of consistently chipper and almost positive.
I don't know. I just saw a lot of humor in it. And I'm always trying to find humor even in the darkest scripts that I get because I find that it's necessary and also fun for me to do. But it's been a while. Do you remember conversations that we had about that? Or
No, we had very few conversations about her performance. I think, we shot those 2 improvised door-to-door days, and I just like was in awe. I'm very familiar with Caroline as an actor. I grew up watching Wonder Falls, and that was like such a like legendary show for me in performance. And I knew what she was capable of. And then once the day the cameras like went on our movie, I saw what she was doing, and I was like, oh, she has it done. I don't have to do anything on this movie. Literally, in my head, I was like, I'm all set, like from day one. And I think because I saw what she was doing and kind of the sheen that she was bringing to it, and I kind of let her kind of guide the performance in a lot of ways. And I think the film is as much of my project as hers because I think
thank you.
she
comes
really,
off that way. I mean, it feels like a true collaboration in the greatest sense of the word when you're watching it. You're in every frame, and the frame is, like I said, it's extremely complementary to your performance consistently.
Well, thank you. And that was a great experience as well to be part of all of it because sometimes as an actor, you're not there for a day or even a week, and then you have to get back into it. But to be there with the crew all the time is a great feeling. Yeah.
Let's get some questions from the audience. Who has a question?
Hi. So I was wondering how each of you got into the business and what made you want to get into the film world.
Oh, well.
The business.
Oh, the business. Do you want to go first?
Well, I started as an actor when I was 8 years old, dubbing. My parents are actors as well, so I kind of fell into it. That's how it happened, and then I never stopped. And when time came to wonder if I should go to film school or actor school or anything like that, I was already working a lot, and I didn't want to stop. And I moved to New York when I was 21 or 22. That was my school. I see it as my way of meeting new people and learning new things, and that's it. I mean, I've been working ever since, and I love my job. There you go.
And yeah, I mean, I just, I grew up in LA. I grew up in the Valley, in Woodland Hills, and I didn't have anybody, really no family members in the business. And I went to undergrad, and I studied film history. I had some production classes, and then I just, moved back to LA. Started PAing really, and I actually did some film journalism. I was a critic for a while, and then I realized, I really want to make movies. I love movies. I would, always run to the grocery store to, get Entertainment Weekly right when it got there, and I just was like,
Still? Do you still read Entertainment? I mean,
maybe not as much as I used to, but. There's so many other sites now, but I just started PAing, and I answered. I went to Craigslist and I took some free PA jobs, and just did a few free PA jobs for a few weeks, and then I just got hired on jobs. And then when I moved to New York about 7 years ago, I started working again. I'm kind of second AD now too as well. But then I made a few shorts before this, and they played some film festivals, and you get more and more, a little bit more acclaim, or a little bit more your name gets out there a little bit more. But it's been a long time. It's been 10 years almost, and it took 5 years to make this. It's it takes time, but I feel like if you can make something with as little resources as you have, with everything you have access to, you can make features these days for under 50 grand. It's kind of insane.
Can I ask what your budget was on this?
Yeah, it was around 250. Wow. Yeah, so it's you can. You
had lunch in Rhonda a lot.
Yeah.
Burgers mostly.
Yeah, and so you can do it these days. You can shoot a film without a lot of stuff. Obviously, I hope you can pay people, but a lot of people just defer payments these days because they want to make a movie.
And there was a lot of love on this set.
Yeah.
The little that you had, you shared with everyone.
Yeah.
So just to be respected in that way, and for everyone also, I think some people were doing the job that they had access to on your set for the first time, were given that chance as well. So that's a great way for people to learn and step up the ladder and all that.
I'm curious, this is your first feature. How did you feel when you saw the first rough cut? I'm always fascinated by that feeling for first-time directors who don't necessarily know the experience of a rough cut.
Yeah, no, it was a learning experience, and we had an hour and 45-minute version of this that I showed to about 20 people. And people kind of didn't know what to make of it in some ways, and some people loved it. But it was still a raw thing. It still needed a lot of work. I think one of the great lessons that you keep on learning, you have to cut some of your best stuff. And I think that's you have to kill your babies. You have to, because what you see may not what an audience sees, and obviously this film may not be for everyone. But it's, you want to convey and connect what your ideas as clearly as possible. So it's as clearly and succinctly, especially for his first movie. You want to get a first movie around 80 minutes because you want your movie to be seen. There's so many, massive movies that are 2 hours now. And so I think it really helps to have a movie under 80 to 90 minutes because it's, gets your movie out there more so and people will actually watch it.
Let me backtrack on that question. Not rough cut. String your first string out. The moment in time where I think is the lowest point for any filmmaker, especially a first-time filmmaker, is when you get the string out and you're like, what did I do?
Oh, the assembly?
The assembly cut, yeah. I mean, I've made films before, and I had an assembly cut that I just shut the whole thing down. I was like, I'm not going to finish this thing. No way.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I was okay, actually, with the assembly cut, but there were scenes, because we got kicked out of a set once. We got kicked out of a location. There was a
diner in Queens.
Yeah. Not Queens, in Long Island.
Oh, Long Island. Yeah.
And there was a miscommunication. We shouldn't be talking about this because I'm sure the owner could be seeing this right now. But there was a miscommunication, and the owner's wife didn't know we were supposed to be there. And we had all these other shots planned that day, and we shot that whole diner scene in the film in under 3 hours. And so, it was a lesson. Yeah, it was a big lesson I learned. But
I'm so sorry for the feelings that you probably had that day and how much your heart was sinking.
I didn't even know if I had a scene, frankly. I was scared out of my mind. We literally had enough time to get a wide, a medium, and a close up, and some, cutaway shots, 5 shots. And it was the scariest probably day of all of our lives. And there was literally someone drove through our shot while we were shooting, a van just sped through, and it almost killed her and Jen Richards, who were in the scene. So that was, I think that was the most frightening thing, if we actually had a scene out of that. But I've made other shorts. I know the process. It's scary, but it just takes a lot of time to edit a movie. It really does, and you have to go back at it a million times.
I asked these questions to movies are hard, guys. They're so hard, and people should really know that.
Yeah.
Next question from the audience.
Hi. I guess for you, Caroline, I was wondering, since you take on these dark, flawed characters, either on TV or film, has it always been a challenge for you doing those roles? And as a Hannibal fan, I have to ask, have you heard anything about
I don't know anything. People ask me a lot, and I've only read it in the paper. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if I'll be part of it. I haven't heard anything. So hopefully, because it's such a great story and the actors were fabulous, and Brian Fuller will always be one of my favorite writers. He's
I'm
amazing.
a big Brian Fuller fan.
Yeah, so.
What was it like when it comes to Hannibal, being a part of a show that had a rabid fan base, incredible creative talent behind it, but still didn't have the numbers that would lead to being able to maintain a number of seasons? It's just a fascinating period of time that we're in regards to television.
The numbers, I don't even know what they were, but I think that had we been a cable show, those numbers would have been okay. So it depends how you look at it, I think. And then it was on Netflix and then had that life afterwards. So if you take a look at all the numbers at the end of the day, I think it was amazing somehow. It traveled the world, so.
It's just one of those weird things as an actor on a show like that, or even it's to be like Brian Fuller, where you're kind of wait, you're canceling us? But I'm looking at my phone and people love this show.
The Fannibals, yes.
Yes.
That word exists, so there you go.
I think we have time for one more question.
Hi, I'm wondering what was the most difficult scene to film as a director and as an actor? And I was also wondering, now that the film is out, what scene are you both looking forward to for audiences to see?
Wow, that's a good question. Do you have an answer?
Well, I can talk about one scene. It's a little bit of the ending, and I don't want to give away too much because it's, the ending is the ending. But there was a scene at the gas station that we shot. We had 3.5 hours to shoot this scene at the gas station. This was in November on the East Coast, so you know that sunlight is gonna go away at 4:45 or whenever it does, and so. We got there at noon or 1, and we had to shoot, a lot of action. Both the actors had to just memorize so much action in this car scene. That's just that was the first time I realized how difficult it was for an actor, just because they have to kind of hit every little mark. Put on the seatbelt, grab this thing, do this thing, while they're saying their dialogue. They have 20 actions within one shot that they have to get exactly, precisely right each time. And I felt oh my God, is this even going to work? Just because obviously they were doing amazing, but we were running out of time and we had to get other shots. So I would think that would be the one scene where daylight is always an issue on movies. You're always kind of racing, to get the scene before the sun goes down.
That scene was like a ballet, a choreography of props and action and lines and as you said, it has to be heartfelt too. So, yeah, it was a complicated one, but we got it done.
Yeah.
What is your favorite scene that you're looking forward to people really seeing?
That's such a good question. I like the car scenes with McCaleb. I think they have a very natural and soulful quality to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously I'm intrigued how people perceive the ending, but you know, we'll see. Get back to me. But
It's a funky ending, we have to
Loved
say.
it. I can't compliment it enough.
I mean,
loved
some
it.
people don't get it, and others love it and have their theory about it.
I will tell you right now, I don't think I got it. I just loved it.
Good.
Great.
You don't have to understand everything, right? Some mystery's good sometimes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think I love the beginning. I love the montage in the beginning with all the women. I don't know, it just like just seeing her with everyone and kind of seeing this like polished self of her, and then also the moments with C.J. Wilson I thought were just awkward and.
He's great.
Yeah, and he's such a great actor, and
Yeah.
there's the bank scene. The bank
I
scene
love that
always
scene.
gets
I think
the
that's
best
my
laughs,
favorite.
I think, and whenever we play it, that's when the amount of money she like wants to.
Yes. Imagine someone who's very, very disorganized trying to get a big loan at a bank.
And
It's a fun
refuses
scene.
to understand or listen to what the person who would give the loan is saying.
Exactly.
And like, just why not? Why can't you just give it to me, basically?
Well, guys, I love the film. It's called Easy Living. How can people see it?
Well, it's playing in New York City at Cinema Village. Premiering tonight. There's still some tickets left, the 9:15 p.m., but it's playing through the 21st, so till next Thursday. And then it'll be on VOD and digital all over the U.S. starting September 19th, this Tuesday. So in over 100 million homes, you can watch it on your cable, or iTunes, VOD, Amazon, Vudu.
All the
1 million.
stuff.
Every single thing you could think of.
All the
pretty much.
stuff. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Congratulations on the film. Thank you.
Thank you.